The wind howled like a banshee through the cracks in the old farmhouse walls, carrying shards of ice that stung like accusations. Joseph slammed the bedroom door shut behind him, his breath fogging the air, heart pounding from the fight downstairs. Another one, the kind that left bruises on the soul more than the skin. And there, in the queen bed that suddenly felt too damn small, lay Andrew, his stepson, shirtless and shivering under a single wool blanket, eyes wide with that mix of fear and fire that had been haunting Joseph's dreams for months. "Fuck this storm," Joseph muttered, stripping off his soaked flannel, the cold biting into his bare chest like teeth. He didn't wait for permission. Hell, in this godforsaken blizzard in rural Nebraska, survival trumped manners. Andrew shifted, the mattress creaking under his lean frame, and for a split second, their gazes locked. Joseph's, stormy gray and weary from 40 years of bad choices. Andrew's, electric blue and burning with secrets neither dared name. Started 6 months ago, when Joseph's wife, Andrew's mother, walked out on them both, tires screeching down the gravel drive like a final punctuation on their fractured family. "You're not my blood," she'd spat at Joseph before the door clicked shut. But blood or not, he'd raised the kid since he was 14, through the awkward teen years and into this man who now filled out his genes in ways that made Joseph's throat dry. The divorce papers were still warm in the lawyer's office in Omaha, but out here on the windswept plains, where cornfields turned to ghost towns in winter, felt like a lifetime ago. Joseph slid under the covers, the shared body heat a reluctant mercy against the sub-zero chill seeping through the floorboards. The bed was meant for one, really, a relic from his bachelor days before marriage turned everything lopsided. Andrew tensed, his back to Joseph, but the younger man's skin radiated warmth like a forbidden flame. "You okay?" Andrew whispered, voice rough from disuse, or maybe from the tears Joseph pretended not to notice earlier. "Yeah," Joseph lied, staring at the ceiling where shadows danced like accusations. His arm brushed Andrew's hip by accident, or was it? And electricity shot through him, raw and unbidden. He pulled back, but Andrew turned then, facing him in the dim moonlight filtering through ice-laced panes. Close, without the buffer of daylight or distance, Andrew's face was all sharp angles and soft vulnerability. The faint scar above his eyebrow from a high school football mishap Joseph had stitched up himself, the faint stubble shadowing his jaw that made him look less like the boy Joseph remembered and more like something dangerous. They'd always been close, too close, maybe. Joseph had been the steady hand after Andrew's real dad bailed when he was a toddler, the one teaching him to drive the old Ford pickup on backroads lined with golden wheat, the one who cheered loudest at graduation even as his own life crumbled under debt and doubt. But lately, since the divorce, touches lingered. A hand on the shoulder that squeezed too long, a shared beer on the porch where conversations veered into the personal, the unspoken. Andrew had come out last spring, casual as handing over a wrench during an oil change. "Dad, Joseph, I'm gay. No drama, just fact." Joseph had nodded, clapped him on the back, said, "Doesn't change a thing, kid." But it changed everything. The storm raged on, rattling the shutters like it wanted in on their secrets. Joseph shifted again, trying to create space that wasn't there. But Andrew's knee nudged his thigh, and suddenly the air thickened with the scent of pine soap and sweat. Andrew's scent, earthy and intoxicating. "Cold as balls out there," Andrew said, attempting levity, but his voice cracked, betraying the tremor in his limbs. Without thinking, Joseph draped an arm over him, pulling him closer in that primal way survival demands, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces forced together. Andrew stiffened, then melted, his head tucking into the crook of Joseph's neck. "Thanks," he murmured, breath hot against Joseph's collarbone. Joseph's pulse thundered, a betrayal of its own, as memories flooded. The way Andrew's laugh lit up the dim kitchen during late-night poker games, the quiet strength in his hands when he helped bale hay last summer, sweat glistening on his bare back under the relentless sun. This was wrong, taboo, the kind of shit that got whispered about in small towns like theirs, where the church steeple loomed larger than the grain elevator. But in the dark, with the world frozen solid outside, wrong felt like the only honest thing left. Sleep came in fits, dreams tangled with reality. Joseph's ex-wife's voice echoing, "You're poison, Joe," morphing into Andrew's soft sigh against his chest. He woke to Andrew's fingers tracing idle patterns on his arm. Innocent, maybe, or testing waters neither should wade into. "Can't sleep," Joseph rasped, voice thick with the night's confessions. "Nah. Thinking about Mom. About us." Andrew's words hung heavy, laced with subtext that made Joseph's gut twist. What the hell did that even mean anymore? The farmhouse had always been their bunker, a two-story Victorian on the edge of town, bought cheap after Joseph's construction gigs dried up post-recession. Now it felt like a pressure cooker, steam building from the grief they shared and the desires they buried. Joseph propped on an elbow, studying Andrew's face in the half-light. At 22, he was all potential unfulfilled, community college dropout, working odd jobs at the auto shop in town, dreaming of something bigger than Nebraska's flat horizon. "We'll get through this, Andy." "Always do," but as he said it, his hand cupped the younger man's cheek, thumb brushing a stray lash, and time stuttered. Andrew's eyes fluttered shut, leaning into the touch like a man starved, and Joseph's resolve cracked wide open. Their lips met tentatively, a brush of uncertainty that ignited like dry tinder. Joseph's world narrowed to the salt of Andrew's skin, the tentative slide of tongues that tasted of regret and revelation. It was messy, desperate, hands fumbling over ridges of muscle earned from farm work, breaths mingling in gasps that fogged the air between them. Andrew's fingers dug into Joseph's back, pulling him closer, as if afraid the storm might whisk him away. But dawn crept in relentless, gray light piercing the curtains like judgment. They broke apart, panting, stairs colliding in the wreckage of what they'd done. "Shit," Joseph whispered, the word a prayer and a curse. Andrew just nodded, eyes shining with unshed tears? Or was it triumph? The fire in the potbelly stove downstairs had gone out hours ago, but the real cold settled in their bones now, the kind no shared blanket could thaw. That morning, over lukewarm coffee in the kitchen that smelled of burnt toast and unspoken sins, they danced around it. Andrew shoveled the drive in silence, breath clouding in the frigid air, while Joseph tinkered with the generator that had crapped out mid-blizzard. "We need parts from town," Joseph called out, but Andrew just grunted, shoulders hunched against more than the wind. The betrayal wasn't in the kiss, it was in the silence after, the way normalcy snapped back like a rubber band, leaving welts. Days blurred into a tense routine. Repairs on the roof where wind had torn shingles free, shared meals where forks scraped plates louder than words. But at night, the bed waited, a siren call. The second storm hit harder, power lines down for miles, forcing them closer still. This time, the kiss wasn't tentative. It was a dam breaking, bodies entwining with the urgency of men who'd stared down loss and found hunger in its shadow. Joseph's hands mapped Andrew's body like uncharted land. Firm planes of chest, the dip of waist flaring to hips that bucked against him. "This is us," Andrew gasped, as if convincing himself, nails raking Joseph's shoulders. It was raw, unpolished, sweat-slick skin sliding, moans muffled into pillows to drown out the gale outside. In the afterglow, tangled limbs and racing hearts, Joseph whispered truths he'd denied. "I see you, kid. Always have." Yet dawn brought the specter of reality. Andrew's phone buzzed midweek. A text from his college buddy, Ryan, inviting him to a bar in Lincoln. "Gonna go?" Joseph asked, feigning casual, but jealousy coiled in his gut like barbed wire. Andrew hesitated, then nodded. "Need a break from this." The word hung, laced with accusation. Joseph watched him drive off in the pickup, taillights fading into the snow-dusted road, and wondered if he'd just handed over his heart to be crushed under truck tires. Lincoln's neon haze felt like another planet, bars pulsing with bass, crowds thick with college kids chasing oblivion in cheap whiskey and fleeting hookups. Andrew nursed a beer at O'Malley's, the sticky wooden counter grounding him against the vertigo of the past week. Ryan slid onto the stool beside him, all easy grins and blonde surfer vibes that screamed California transplant. "Dude, you look like hell. What's eating you? That storm bury you alive?" Andrew forced a laugh, but it came out hollow. Something like that. He couldn't say it. Couldn't spill how his stepdad's mouth on his had rewritten every rule he'd ever known. How Joseph's calloused hands felt like home and heresy in equal measure. Ryan was safe, uncomplicated. A hookup once or twice freshman year. No strings, no baggage. Tonight, though, as Ryan's knee brushed his under the table, Andrew recoiled. "Not tonight, man." Heads fucked. Ryan raised an eyebrow, signaling the bartender for shots. "Spill, or I'll assume it's some ex-drama." "That chick from Omaha." Andrew shook his head, the lie bitter on his tongue. "No exes, just the ghost of a woman who'd birthed him and bolted, leaving him adrift in a sea of Joseph's quiet strength." Back home, the farmhouse loomed in his mind. Creaky stairs, the den where Joseph nursed a perpetual scotch after long days framing houses for strangers who paid in IOUs. By midnight, the shots blurred edges, and Ryan's hand on his thigh felt like temptation's hook. They stumbled into a motel off I-80, the kind with flickering vacancy signs and walls thin as paper. Clothes hit the floor in a frenzy. Ryan's body lean and eager, all smooth skin and practiced moves. Andrew chased release like a drowning man gulps air, but as Ryan's lips trailed down his chest, Joseph's face flashed unbidden. Those gray eyes, stormy with want, whispering, "I see you," in the dark. It was over quick. Mechanical, Andrew faking moans, Ryan none the wiser. Guilt crashed in waves as he lay there, ceiling fan whirring like judgment. "You're off tonight," Ryan murmured, propping on an elbow, fingers tracing Andrew's tattoo. A simple compass rose on his ribs that Joseph had inked during a drunken bonfire last summer. "Thinking about someone else?" Andrew bolted upright, yanking on jeans. "Gotta go. Storm's letting up. Need to get back." Ryan's protests faded as he peeled out of the lot, the Ford's headlights cutting through fog like knives. The drive home stretched eternal. 2 hours of blacktop unspooling regrets. Joseph's trust, fragile as new frost. His own betrayal, sharp as the wind slicing through vents. Dawn painted the horizon pink when he pulled into the drive, snow crunching under tires. The farmhouse lights glowed warm, a beacon he didn't deserve. Joseph was in the kitchen, flour-dusted apron over his faded Levi's, flipping pancakes like nothing had shattered. "Heard you come in late. Ryan treat you right?" The question was casual, but Joseph's jaw ticked, betraying the undercurrent. Andrew dropped his keys on the counter, the clink echoing. It was nothing, just blowing off steam, lies stacked like cordwood, fueling a fire he couldn't control. Joseph's eyes narrowed, spatula pausing mid-air. "Steam? Huh? Looked like more from the way you been dodging me." The air crackled, unspoken accusations flying. Joseph's vulnerability laid bare in that bed, Andrew's flight to anonymity. They ate in silence, forks scraping, the sizzle of bacon a mocking underscore. Finally, Joseph shoved his plate away. "If this us is too much, say it. I'll sleep on the couch. Fix the damn guest room heater tomorrow." His voice cracked on the last word, raw as an open wound, and Andrew's chest tightened. This man, broad-shouldered and battle-scarred from a life of building others' dreams while his own splintered, deserved better than half-truths. "It's not that," Andrew said, reaching across the table, fingers lacing with Joseph's in a grip that trembled. "It's everything. You're my dad, Joe. Step or not, that's the line. And crossing it, in this town, they'd burn us out." Joseph's thumb stroked his knuckles, calluses rough against smooth skin, a map of labor and love. "Lines are bullshit, Andy. We draw 'em to keep from feeling. But I feel you, every goddamn day." The kiss that followed was slower, deliberate, born of confessions over cold coffee. Joseph's chair scraped back, pulling Andrew onto his lap, bodies slotting together like they were made for this forbidden geometry. Hands roamed freer now, Joseph's under Andrew's shirt, tracing the ladder of ribs that spoke of lean years, Andrew's in Joseph's hair, tugging with a possessiveness that scared them both. They made it to the living room rug before clothes scattered, the fire crackling in the hearth a witness to their unraveling. It was different this time, less frenzy, more worship. Joseph kissed scars and freckles like talismans, murmuring praises that made Andrew arch and beg. "Beautiful," Joseph breathed against his throat, voice gravel-worn from cigarettes quit too late. Andrew's response was a litany of Joseph's name, hips grinding in rhythm with the storm's dying echoes outside. Release came tidal, crashing over them in shared shudders, leaving sweat-slick limbs entwined on wool that smelled of wood smoke and home. After, in the quiet hush, Andrew traced Joseph's wedding ring scar, a pale band on his finger where vows had once bound him. "What if she comes back?" he whispered, fear coiling cold. Joseph chuckled low, pulling him closer. "She won't. And even if, this is ours now." But doubt lingered, a shadow in Andrew's eyes, as they dressed for the day ahead. Joseph's crew waiting on a site in town, Andrew's shift at the shop where gossip flowed freer than oil. Weeks passed in this fragile idyll, stolen moments in the barn loft, hay bale softness under them, lazy Sundays mending fences, shoulders brushing with electric promise. Joseph taught Andrew the finer points of carpentry, hands guiding hands over lathe and level, lessons laced with double meanings. "Steady pressure," Joseph would say, breath warm on Andrew's ear, and they'd dissolve into laughter that turned to moans against tool-scarred benches. But paradise in Nebraska was fleeting as a summer rain. It started with a phone call, Joseph's ex, Maria, Andrew's mom, wanting to check in, her voice syrup-sweet over the line. "How's my boy?" And Joe, still holding down the fort. Andrew overheard from the hall. Joseph's responses clipped, evasive. That night, over venison stew, tension simmered. "She's coming for Christmas," Joseph announced, fork pausing. "Says she misses you." Andrew's spoon clattered. "Misses me?" After ghosting for months, bitterness soured the broth. Memories flooding. Maria's perfume clouding the air before her departures, promises evaporating like morning dew. Joseph reached for him, but Andrew pulled away. "This us. How the hell do we hide it? One look at you, and me, and she'll know." "We don't hide," Joseph said, fierce. "Or we do, for now. But she's not taking you back, Andy. Not from me." The possessiveness thrilled and terrified, a vow wrapped in barbed wire. Andrew nodded, but sleep evaded him that night. Alone in his childhood bed while Joseph tossed in theirs, the distance a chasm widening. Christmas Eve brought the storm sequel. Not snow, but Maria's sleek SUV crunching up the drive, headlights slicing the dusk like scalpels. She stepped out bundled in cashmere, all city polish against their rural grit, hair blown out, smile practiced. "Boys," she cooed, arms wide for Andrew, who stiffened in the hug. Joseph hung back, jaw set, offering a nod that barely thawed the air. Dinner was a minefield. Turkey carved with precision knives, conversation skirting edges. Maria prattled about her new life in Chicago, gallery openings, a promising architect boyfriend, while Joseph's eyes flicked to Andrew's, silent pleas across the table. Under the cloth, Andrew's foot nudged Joseph's ankle, a covert anchor, but Maria's gaze sharpened. "You two seem closer than before." Joseph's laugh barked too loud. "Family sticks, Maria. You taught us that." The barb landed, her smile faltering. Later, as she unpacked in the guest room, Andrew cornered Joseph in the pantry. "She's sniffing around." "We can't." Joseph's mouth silenced him, hard and claiming against sacks of flour. "We can. We will." But as they parted, Andrew's heart hammered with foreboding, the kiss tasting of gunpowder. The guest room heater hummed defiantly through the night, but sleep was a stranger to Andrew, tossing in sheets that smelled of mothballs and his mother's Chanel No. 5. Down the hall, Joseph's snores rumbled like distant thunder, fitful, laced with the scotch he'd nursed after Maria's probing questions about the farm's finances. Andrew slipped from bed at 2 a.m., padding barefoot to the kitchen, the floorboards groaning under his weight like old bones. Moonlight slanted through frost-etched windows, casting the room in silver and shadow. He poured water from the pitcher, glass cold against his palm, when a creak behind him spun him around. Maria stood there, robe belted tight, eyes sharp as she took in his disheveled state, boxers low on hips, hair a wild crown. "Can't sleep either?" she asked, voice soft but probing, like a therapist mining for billable hours. Andrew leaned against the sink, arms crossed. "Ghosts, I guess." She poured her own glass, movements graceful, a reminder of the elegance he'd chased in her shadow as a kid. "Your father's, Joseph's, been good to you?" The hesitation on father stung, a deliberate wedge. Andrew nodded, throat tight. "Better than good. He's family." Maria's laugh tinkled, brittle. "Family, right? I left because he suffocated me. Andy. That house. That life, it's a cage. Don't let him clip your wings. Her hand on his arm was cool, maternal in intent but invasive in execution. Andrew shrugged it off, pulse quickening. I'm not you, Mom. And he's not the villain in your story. She studied him, then really looked, and something shifted in her gaze, calculation, perhaps, or the dawning of a truth too uncomfortable to name. You're different. Grown. But be careful, love. Joseph's always been intense. With you, the implication hung, poisonous fog, and Andrew's stomach roiled. He excused himself, fleeing to the porch where December air bit like reprimand. Joseph found him there at dawn, bundled in Joseph's old Carhartt jacket, staring at the star-flecked sky. She get to you? Joseph's voice was rough from sleep and suspicion, arms wrapping around Andrew from behind, chin on his shoulder. The embrace was solid, grounding, but Andrew tensed. Says you're a cage. Says I should fly. Joseph's grip tightened, breath warm on Andrew's neck. And what do you say? Andrew turned in his arms, hands fisting Joseph's shirt, pulling him down into a kiss that bruised with urgency. I say fuck flying. I'm right where I want to be. They stumbled back inside, bodies colliding against the door, coats shed in a trail to the den. The rug welcomed them again, fire long cold but embers of desire flaring hot. It was frantic, reclaiming, Andrew straddling Joseph's hips, grinding down with a rhythm that drew guttural moans from deep in Joseph's chest. Mine, Andrew growled, nails scoring red lines down Joseph's torso, marking territory against invisible threats. Joseph bucked up, hands gripping Andrew's thighs hard enough to bruise, whispering filth and endearments that blurred into poetry. God, Andy, you undo me. Fuck. Right there. Climax ripped through them like lightning, leaving Andrew collapsed on Joseph's chest, hearts hammering in sync. But bliss was brief. Christmas morning dawned brittle, gifts unwrapped under a tree strung with lights that flickered like false hope. Maria's present to Andrew, a leather jacket, supple and scented with newness, draped over his shoulders with a hug too lingering. Joseph's gift to her, a polite necklace from the mall in town, elicited a tight smile. For Andrew, Joseph slid over a pocket knife, engraved with steady, simple, profound, a talisman against the storm. Afternoon brought board games and eggnog spiked heavy, laughter forced as snow flurried outside. Maria dominated conversation, regaling with tales of urban glamour that made the farmhouse feel smaller, suffocating. Joseph's jaw clenched tighter with each anecdote, his hand finding Andrew's under the table, squeezing like lifeline. You should visit Chicago, she urged Andrew later, by the sink washing dishes. See the world. Date someone who isn't. Stuck. Andrew's sponge scrubbed harder, suds foaming. I'm not stuck. And who I date, that's mine. Her eyes widened fractionally, the unsaid electric. Date? Oh, honey. Pity laced the words. Or was it triumph? She dried her hands, patted his cheek. Just think about it. That night, as wind whispered secrets through eaves, Maria knocked on Joseph's door, Andrew's old room, where he'd retreated to feign normalcy. Voices murmured low, then rose. He's my son, Maria. Back off. Her reply sliced, stepson. And the way you look at him is not fatherly, Joe. I see it now, always did. Maybe. Sick. Joseph's roar was muffled, but Andrew heard, bolting from bed to the hall. He burst in to find them toe-to-toe. Maria's face flushed. Joseph's fists balled white-knuckled. "Get out!" Andrew snarled at her, positioning between them like a shield. "You don't know shit." Maria's gaze flicked to him, softening with false sorrow. "I know enough. Protect yourself, Andy. From him, from this." She packed that night, SUV idling in the drive as Joseph watched from the porch. Arms crossed, face a mask of stone. Andrew stood beside him, hand brushing his in the dark, a silent vow. "She's wrong," Andrew said as taillights faded. Joseph pulled him close, kiss fierce against the cold. "Damn right. But she's got a point. This town's no place for us." The new year brought tentative peace, but cracks spiderwebbed. Joseph's work dried up, economy slumping, crews laid off, and tempers frayed over unpaid bills stacked like indictments. Andrew picked up extra shifts at the shop, grease under nails, but whispers followed. Ryan, loose-lipped from that motel night, murmuring to buddies about Andrew's weird vibe. Heard he's shacking with the old man. One sneered over beers at O'Malley's, words filtering back via the town's invisible vines. Confrontation came mid-February, another blizzard blanketing the plains in white silence. Andrew stormed home early, coveralls stiff with grime, to find Joseph on the phone in the kitchen. Voice low, urgent. "Yeah, Maria. He's fine. No, we don't need your pity money." Click. Joseph's head snapped up, guilt flashing before shutters dropped. "You told her." Andrew's voice cracked, betrayal hot as bile. "About us." Joseph stood, hands placating. "Just that we're managing." "She offered help." "Liar." Andrew's fist connected with the wall, plaster dusting knuckles. "She's poison, Joe. And you let her in again." The fight escalated. Words weapons. Joseph's "you're acting like a kid" met Andrew's, and "you're acting like my jailer." Plates shattered. Echoes in the empty house. Until Andrew grabbed his keys, bolting into the storm. The Ford fishtailed on iced roads, wipers battling flurries. Heart a war drum. He aimed for the old mill outside town, a rusted skeleton where teens parked for smokes and secrets. Their engine idling. He broke, sobs racking, phone buzzing ignored. Joseph's texts piled. "Come home. Please." But home felt like quicksand now, sucking him under. Hours later, headlights pierced the dark. Joseph's truck, pulling up reckless. He yanked open the door, snow-caked and wild-eyed. "Get out. We're talking." Andrew resisted, but Joseph's arms hauled him into the cab, bodies slamming together in the bench seat. "I didn't tell her shit," Joseph growled, hands framing Andrew's face. "But I should've." No more hiding. The kiss was salt and fury, teeth clashing, hands tearing at zippers in the confined space. Steam fogged windows as they claimed each other, desperate, defiant. Joseph's mouth on Andrew's neck, marking with sucks that bloomed purple. "Love you," Joseph gasped, the words a detonation, hips thrusting in erratic rhythm against denim. Andrew's response was a cry, spilling over Joseph's palm, the older man's following in shuddering waves. In the afterglow, cab reeking of sex and exhaust, truth spilled freer than seed. "I called her for advice on coming out here. Thought maybe she'd understand." Joseph's admission hung vulnerable. Andrew traced his jaw, thumb on the pulse point. We face it together. No more running. Spring thawed the fields, greening edges of their world. They attended a PFLAG meeting in Lincoln. Tentative, Joseph's hands sweaty in Andrew's under folding chairs, stories from others echoing their own buried fears. It's not easy, a silver-haired man shared, arm around his husband, but worth every scar. Joseph nodded, chin lifted, and Andrew felt pride swell, fierce and unyielding. Yet betrayal's shadow lingered. Ryan cornered Andrew at the shop one April afternoon. Smirk oily. Heard you're playing house with stepdaddy. Kinky. But watch your back. Folks talk. The punch landed square. Andrew's fist splitting Ryan's lip. Blood blooming red. Stay the fuck away, he snarled. But the damage rippled. Whispers to sheriff's deputies. Sideways glances at the diner. Climax brewed that May, under skies heavy with thunder. The town fair rolled in, carnival lights strung over Midway, air thick with fried dough and judgment. Joseph and Andrew walked the grounds, hands unlinked but shoulders brushing, a facade of bros. But Maria appeared like a specter, arm in arm with her architect, smile weaponized. Fancy seeing you here, she purred, eyes raking over them. Still cozy. Joseph's arm snaked around Andrew's waist, bold as brass. Happier than ever. The claim hung defiant, but Maria's laugh cut deep. Careful, Joe. Secrets have a way of unraveling. She leaned in, whisper for Andrew's ear, call me if you need out. I know what he's capable of. The words festered, doubt seed taking root. That night, as rain lashed the roof, Andrew confronted Joseph in bed. What did she mean, capable of? Joseph's face shuddered. Old shit. Before you. Fights. Bad choices. Nothing now, but evasion bred suspicion, and Andrew's questions piled like storm clouds. June's heat wave baked the plains, turning the farmhouse into a sweatbox where tempers simmered like pots left too long on the stove. Andrew worked doubles at the shop, engine grease a second skin, while Joseph hustled side gigs, fencing for neighbors, odd repairs that paid in barter and barely their cash. Their nights were oases, cool showers shared, bodies slick and sliding under lukewarm spray, Joseph's mouth tracing water trails down Andrew's spine. Forever, he'd murmur against damp skin, but forever felt fragile, chipped at by the world's grindstone. The betrayal detonated on a sweltering Tuesday, sun hanging low and merciless. Andrew came home early, truck kicking dust up the drive, to find Joseph's pickup parked crooked, unusual for the meticulous man. The front door hung ajar, screens slapping lazy in the breeze, and voices drifted from the den. Joseph's, low and pleading, a woman's, sharp as shattered glass. Maria. Andrew froze in the threshold, heart jackhammering. You can't keep this up, Joe. He's young, vulnerable. Let me take him to Chicago. Start fresh. Joseph's laugh was bitter, edged with exhaustion. He's not a kid anymore. And you're just stirring shit. 'Cause you lost. Lost. The word echoed, and Andrew pushed forward, bursting into the room. Maria perched on the sofa, elegant in linen slacks, while Joseph paced, shirt untucked, face flushed. What the fuck? Andrew's voice boomed, betrayal crystallizing cold. You called her here? After everything? Joseph whirled, eyes wide with shock. Andy, no. She showed up. Unannounced, but doubt gnawed. Maria's smug tilt to her head, the familiarity in their bickering. She rose, hand extended like olive branch or knife. Darling, listen. I know about you too. Unhealthy. Come with me. Away from this delusion. Delusion. The slur ignited Andrew's fuse. He lunged, but Joseph intercepted, arms banding iron around his waist. Get out, Maria. Now. His voice was thunder, but she didn't flinch, pulling a folder from her purse. Divorce addendums, custody clauses yellowed with age. You think I'd let you poison him like you did me? I have proof texts, photos from the fair. The town's already talking. Sheriff's office called me. Proof. The word gutted Joseph, color draining from his face. Andrew twisted free, staring at the man who'd been his anchor. Texts? You documented us? Joseph's denial choked out. No, I swear. But Maria's phone materialized, screen glowing with screenshots. Joseph's late-night messages to Andrew. Miss you already. Come home safe. Innocent out of context, damning in hers. You hacked him, Andrew roared, snatching the phone. But Maria snatched back, cool as ice. A mother's intuition. I installed an app on his old phone, backup sync. For his safety. Safety twisted into weapon. Joseph's fists clenched, veins bulging. You bitch. Get off my property. She left with a final barb, flung over shoulder. I'll be back with lawyers. For Andrew's sake. The door slammed, silence crashing in its wake. Andrew rounded on Joseph, eyes blazing. How long? How long have you been feeding her scraps? Joseph's hands rose, placating, but his voice broke. Never. I burned that phone months ago. This is her game, divide us. But trust, once cracked, leaks poison. Andrew stormed out, pacing the porch as dusk bled purple across fields. Joseph's shadow followed, tentative. Believe me, Andy. Please. Andrew whirled, tears hot. How? She knows things, private shit. Unless you talked. The accusation landed like a slap, Joseph's face crumpling. I'd die first, but words rang hollow, and Andrew's I need space was a grenade, pin pulled. He drove to the mill again, that rusted confessional, radio blaring country laments that mirrored his ache. Hours ticked by, phone silent, Joseph respecting the boundary, or defeated. Midnight found Andrew creeping back, porch light a lonely sentinel. Joseph waited in the kitchen, table bare save for 2 beers, sweating condensation. Can't lose you, he said simply, sliding one over. Andrew sank into the chair, exhaustion bowing shoulders. Then tell me everything. No filters. Joseph did, halting confessions over foam. The app. Yes. But he'd discovered it weeks ago. Confronted Maria in a voiceless call. Threatened to block her. Thought it was done. She must have kept digging. Andrew probed deeper, unearthing Joseph's premarriage sins. Bar fights. A stint in county for assault after a homophobic slur gone wrong. I was lost then, Joseph admitted, eyes downcast. You found me. Vulnerability disarmed, and Andrew's hand covered Joseph's, bridges rebuilding tentative. We're in this. But no more secrets. The kiss that sealed it was gentle, exploratory, lips brushing like forgiveness, bodies rising to meet in slow undulation. They made love on the table, deliberate and deep. Andrew's legs wrapped around Joseph's waist, gasps sinking with creaks of oak. Together, Andrew vowed against sweat-damp skin, Climax, a shared sacrament washing doubt away. July brought fragile mending. Date nights disguised as errands to Omaha. Hands linked over console in the truck. Lazy afternoons fishing the Platte. Lines cast lazy as their lovemaking under willow shade. Joseph joined a local support group for queer folks in the shadows, coming home with stories that lightened his step. "There's others like us," he'd say, pulling Andrew close. Not alone. But Maria's threat loomed, a guillotine blade. August mail delivered summons. Petition for emergency intervention, citing abusive environment and inappropriate relations. The lawyer's letterhead screamed Chicago, words like grooming and exploitation slashing deep. Joseph crumpled it, face ashen. Bullshit. We'll fight. The hearing loomed in September. County courthouse, a squat brick fortress in town. They lawyered up on credit, a queer-friendly attorney from Lincoln, sharp-suited and no-nonsense. Prep sessions were grueling. Joseph's testimony rehearsed, Andrew's affidavit detailing Maria's abandonment, their bond's purity. "It's love," Andrew insisted to the lawyer, cheeks burning. She nodded, fierce. "We'll prove it." Town buzzed like hornet's nest. Glances at the diner turned hostile. Joseph's gigs canceled with mumbled, "family issues." Ryan smirked from afar, but Andrew ignored, chin high. Solidarity came unexpected, old Mrs. Hargrove from church, dropping pie at the door with a wink. Heard the gossip. "Don't let 'em grind you down. Boys." Climax crested the week before court. Thunderheads massing like armies. Maria arrived unbidden, this time with her boyfriend in tow, tall, bespectacled, reeking of cologne and condescension. They sat in the living room, air thick as humidity, demands laid bare, sign over guardianship remnants. "Let Andrew go willingly, or we drag it public." Joseph's laugh was steel. "Over my dead body." Andrew, beside him, added, "I'm not property, Mom. And this, it's home." Maria's facade cracked, tears welling, real, perhaps, or performative. "You're ruining him, Joe. This perversion." The word ignited. Andrew surged forward, voice whip crack. "Perversion? You left us to rot, me with a man who stayed, who loved me when you wouldn't. That's perversion." Her boyfriend shifted, uncomfortable, but Maria doubled down. Folder slapping table, more evidence. Blurry photos from a drone, them kissing in the truck. Joseph's search history for queer stepfamily support. Betrayal's full bloom. Joseph paled. "How?" Maria's smile twisted. "Hired help. Private eye. For your own good." The room spun for Andrew, pieces slotting. Joseph's evasive calls, the sudden caution. "You knew," he accused, turning. "And said nothing?" Joseph's denial crumbled under the weight. "I suspected, changed passwords, but God, Andy, I was protecting us." Lies layered on omissions, and Andrew's world tilted. He fled to the bedroom, door slamming, sobs muffled into pillows that still smelled of their nights. Joseph followed, knocking soft. "Let me in." The plea broke something, and Andrew did, literally, yanking the door wide. Protecting? By letting her build a case. Fists flew then. Not hard, but desperate. Shoves and grapples that ended in clinch. Foreheads pressed. Breaths mingling ragged. "I fucked up," Joseph whispered, tears carving tracks. "Scared of losing you, to her, to this place." Andrew's rage deflated, arms wrapping tight. "Then fight. With me." The makeup was cathartic, clothes shed in fury's wake, bodies slamming against wall, Joseph's thrusts punishing and pleading. Never again, he growled with each snap of hips, Andrew's legs hooked over his elbows, cries echoing off beams. Release was exorcism, purging poison, leaving them slumped on floor, limbs akimbo, hearts raw but aligned. Court day dawned crisp, leaves turning gold under uncertain skies. The gallery murmured townies, Maria's allies, a smattering of supporters clutching rainbow pins. Judge Harlan, grizzled and fair, presided as testimonies unfolded, Maria's tearful narrative of concern, her PI's clinical report. Joseph's turn was steady, voice cracking only on "He's my son," in every way that matters. Our love's not crime, it's salvation. Andrew's words sealed. She left. He stayed. That's family. Questions probed gentle, no coercion. Mutual consent affirmed. Maria's cross-examination faltered under scrutiny, her proof dismissed as invasion. Gavel fell. Petition denied. No cause for intervention. Elation surged as they exited. Joseph's whoop echoing halls. Andrew's hug bone-crushing. But victory tasted bittersweet. Maria's glare from the steps, a vow unspoken. This isn't over, she hissed. But Joseph just smiled, arm around Andrew. It is for us. Fall deepened, harvest moons lighting their path. They sold the farmhouse, too haunted by battles, and bought a cabin near the Platte. Wood smoke and willows their new sanctuary. Joseph's carpentry boomed, custom pieces for Lincoln's growing queer scene. Andrew enrolled in online drafting courses, dreams unfurling. Yet scars lingered, humanistic in their imperfection. Anniversaries marked not dates but milestones. First shared bed, first fight won. One November Eve. Snow dusting eaves like forgiveness. They lay tangled, Joseph's fingers in Andrew's hair. Worth it, Andrew murmured. Joseph's kiss was answer, soft and sure. Every frozen night, winter's grip returned gentle that year. Not the feral beast of their beginnings, but a quiet shawl draping the cabin in hush. Andrew woke to Joseph's side of the bed empty, coffee brewing's aroma pulling him downstairs like a lover's hand. The kitchen glowed amber, fireplace crackling. Joseph's broad back to him as he stirred oats, humming an old Springsteen tune off-key. Morning, handsome, Joseph rumbled without turning, and Andrew's heart stuttered, as it always did at the casual profundity of their now. They'd built this life brick by deliberate brick. Exposed beams Joseph's hands had planed smooth, windows framing river views where otters played at dawn. No more hiding. Pride flag fluttered from the porch, a quiet fuck you to prying eyes. Town had thawed unevenly. Some shunned, crossing streets with pursed lips. Others nodded warmer, like the diner waitress slipping extra bacon with a wink. Ryan had slunk away after a black eye and a stern word from the sheriff, whispers dying as novelty faded. Breakfast banter flowed easy. Andrew's latest class project, a sustainable barn design that had his prof buzzing. Joseph's commission for a queer couple's mantle, carved with intertwined oaks. Symbol of roots, Joseph explained, fork waving oats for emphasis. Andrew grinned, foot hooking Joseph's calf under table. Like us. Tangled and stubborn. Affection crested post-meal. Dishes abandoned for the rug by the hearth, Joseph's domain, where he'd drag Andrew down with a growl. Bodies familiar yet ever new. Mornings like this were languid. Andrew's mouth teasing Joseph's navel, drawing lazy moans. Joseph's fingers carding through sweat-damp curls as Andrew took him deep, throat working with practiced devotion. "Fuck. Kid, yes," Joseph gasped, hips canting, release spilling warm and trusted. Reciprocation was worship, Andrew on knees, Joseph's tongue mapping every inch, from freckled shoulders to the compass tattoo that now pointed true. Sated, they dressed for the day, Andrew to Lincoln for a site visit, Joseph's truck rumbling to a build in town. Partings lingered, kisses at the door, Joseph's hand cupping Andrew's ass with a squeeze. "Love you, always the anchor." Andrew echoed it, driving with windows down, wind whipping hair, radio crooning Mellencamp about small-town dreams. Maria's shadow flickered intermittent, a stiff Christmas card, and signed, a LinkedIn request Andrew ignored. Her boyfriend dumped her midsummer, per a mutual acquaintance's gossip, couldn't handle the drama, and Joseph felt a pang, unbidden. "She was broken long before us," he'd say, pulling Andrew close. Humanistic mercy, refusing to demonize, even her. Climax's echo rippled in unexpected waves. October brought a letter, not legal, but personal. Maria's handwriting, looping elegant on cream stationery. "I've been in therapy, seeing my part in the hurt. If you'll have me, I'd like to meet, as family, not foes." Andrew read it aloud by the river, Joseph's arm heavy around shoulders. "Your call," Joseph said, neutral but eyes wary. Andrew burned it that night, ashes swirling up chimney like released ghosts. "Not yet. Maybe never," Joseph nodded, pride softening his gaze. "Proud of you." The decision freed something, space for their own healing, untainted. Thanksgiving gathered a motley crew. Joseph's PFLAG buddies, a lesbian couple from the group with their adopted kid in tow, Andrew's old shop foreman, gruff but gay, bringing pie. Laughter filled the cabin, turkey aromas mingling with stories swapped over wine. Joseph carved with flourish, toasting to chosen kin, and Andrew's chest swelled, tears pricking at the normalcy of it all. Post-feast, as guests dozed by the fire, Joseph drew Andrew outside, stars carpet overhead, frost nipping noses. "Remember that first night?" Joseph's voice low, hand warm in Andrew's glove. "Thought I'd freeze solid, till you thawed me." Andrew leaned in, nose to Joseph's. Best damn survival tactic. Their kiss ignited slow, then fierce back against cabin wall, hips grinding in rhythm with cricket chorus. Inside, they slipped away to bed, lovemaking a symphony. Joseph's weight pinning Andrew gentle, thrusts measured deep, whispers of mine and always punctuating gasps. Andrew flipped them midway, riding with abandon, Joseph's hands on hips guiding like dance. Climax crested shared, a wave cresting eternal, bodies collapsing in laughter-tinged sighs. December deepened, their first anniversary of that frozen bed marked private. Joseph's gift, a quilt stitched from flannel scraps, his old shirts, Andrew's hoodies warm as memory. Andrew's was a tattoo, matching compass on Joseph's ribs, inked in Omaha by the same artist. "Direction home," Andrew explained, tracing the fresh lines. Joseph's eyes misted. "You are." The big storm hit mid-month. Echoes of origin, winds howling, power flickering. They bunkered with candles and wine, board games devolving to strip poker where losers paid in kisses. Bed called inevitable, bodies huddling under the new quilt, heat building from friction and familiarity. Joseph's mouth on Andrew's cock was reverent, tongue swirling lazy, Andrew's fingers in Joseph's hair, urging deeper, until pleas turned to cries. Reciprocal. Andrew's ass took Joseph's with ease born of trust. Slow glides building to frenzy. Nails digging crescents. Release a roar muffled into necks. After, tangled and sated, Joseph traced Andrew's brow. Think we made it? Andrew's chuckle rumbled. Past the worst. Now, we live it. Dawn broke clear, snow blanketing pure, and they shoveled out together, breaths clouding in tandem, laughter echoing across drifts. Spring unfurled verdant, their life a tapestry woven resilient. Andrew graduated online, degree framed above the mantle. Joseph expanded his shop, apprentices learning craft and courage. Vacations beckoned, a road trip to the Badlands, hands linked over gearshift, motels echoing with moans under vast skies. Maria reached out once more. Summer solstice, coffee in Omaha, neutral ground. Andrew went alone, Joseph's blessing a kiss at parting. Cafe chatter neutral, her face line softer, apologies spilling genuine. I was scared of you growing beyond me. Andrew nodded, walls cracking. We forgive, but forget takes time. She teared up, hugging tentative. Start small, he agreed. A text chain born, sporadic, healing. Humanistic close, no tidy bows, but growth in the grit. Joseph's 60th loomed, celebrated with bonfire and beers. Andrew's toast slurring sentimental. To the man who shared a bed and a life. Love you, old timer. Laughter roared. Joseph's pull drawing Andrew into lap. Kiss unapologetic. Years layered on. Silver threading Joseph's hair. Lines etching Andrew's eyes from sun and smiles. The cabin expanded. A studio for Andrew's designs. A porch swing for sunset porches. Storms came. Literal and not health scares. Job dips, but they weathered. Bed always refuge. On their 10th anniversary, another freeze. They lay awake. Joseph's arm heavy over Andrew's waist. Deny nothing, Joseph murmured, echoing that first dawn. Andrew turned, lips brushing. Never again. Outside, wind whispered benediction, world vast and indifferent. Inside, two men, stepfather, stepson, lovers eternal, held fast, hearts synced in the quiet thunder of what they'd claimed. A love defying frost, betrayal's bite, and time's inexorable pull. Human, flawed, profound, their American odyssey, etched in sweat and snow.